everyone. Welcome to the SOAR COVID and Cancer online video series, episode 5. I'm Crystal, the CEO and founder of SOAR.
I'm Hannah, the CMO of SOAR. The COVID and Cancer online video series was created to talk about the issues surrounding COVID-19 and how it is changing the cancer space through conversations with cancer survivors, oncology nurses, and others working in cancer fields. We encourage everyone watching to donate to help us combat the economic effects of COVID-19 at donorbox.org/SOAR above. All donations received up until August 15th will be matched by SOAR and go directly to the Greater Houston COVID-19 Recovery Fund to aid those in need of food assistance, affordable childcare, and basic financial hardship caused by COVID-19.
Today, we are interviewing Jake and Audrey McKim. So Jake is the founder of Ampere Room, which is a nonprofit organization that brings in famous musicians into hospitals to perform for patients. Audrey is his wife, and she is a child life activity coordinator at the Texas Children's Hospital Cancer and Hematology Centers in Houston. Hi, Jake and Audrey. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Crystal. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So could you briefly introduce yourselves, and let's start with you, Audrey, and a brief introduction and why you decided to go into the field of oncology.
Well, I am a mother of 3, so we have 3 daughters, and I didn't specifically choose oncology, but when I went into child life, I chose it after we had a child with some medical issues, and we found ourselves in the hospital, and we had so many different people impact our stay there, including child life, which largely is targeting the psychosocial part of hospitalization. So everything outside of the medical component that helps children while they're in the hospital. And so after getting just some really phenomenal services, I decided I wanted to go into child life. And so when I started with Texas Children's, their opening was in the Cancer and Hematology Centers. And so I got placed with this population about 5 years ago. And so that's where I find myself now, working directly with pediatric cancer and blood disorder patients.
Awesome. And Jake, could you give us your introduction and what led you to the founding of Ampere Room?
Sure, my story is a little different. I grew up singing and heavily involved in music, and just had a passion for helping others in the music industry kind of achieve their dreams. So I grew up in Houston and went to high school for performing visual arts and to the University of Houston, and graduated and went to work for Beyonce and her father, Matthew Knowles, and just learned the ropes of the music industry. And you know, the whole time was that behind the scenes guy who worked with artists, finding the right songs and the right producers for their music, and you know, helping them put their stage shows together and release their music. So that's been my path, and I started my own company back in 2009. And you know, it's been fun, it's been rewarding, but I've always had a passion and a lean to finding ways that music can help on a broader level. And so just to kind of get it specific, I worked with a country duo called Maddie and Tay. As we were developing them, I talked to them about, you know, really giving back, and you know, not just making music to get famous, but to really help others and inspire and, you know, help others get through challenging situations. So brought them to MD Anderson in the medical center, and they performed, and Texas Children's as well. And that kind of birthed the idea. As Audrey was getting established at Texas Children's, it became clear and obvious back in 2016 that with my connection to music and artists and her, you know, day-to-day interpersonal work with families, that we should just partner and you know, bring in these great music experiences. And it's not just celebrities, but local artists and musicians. And so we've had some really cool experiences, and you know, it's a passion for sure.
Yeah, you know, I think that the longer I was there, we have incredible groups that we work with the Houston Symphony Orchestra and lots of local community partners to bring in everything you can think of that's fun for kids. Because, you know, when a kid is hospitalized or gets a cancer diagnosis, they're in for a pretty long haul a lot of the time. And so the idea is that it's going to be made a lot easier if we can inject as much fun and happiness and art and music as we can into their day to day. And so that's largely what I do. And so I'm in charge of programs and activities that help kids get through the day with as much normalization as possible. And so, you know, Jake and I were thinking we have under one roof both the opportunity to interject musicians that can sing and perform the kinds of music that kids are listening to already, and a connection to them. And so that's when we started thinking, let's see if we can start to bring some of this bedside into the hospital. And that way we can take them room to room and have these personal experiences and just change the whole feel of a room with music when a visitor walks in. And so we started Ampere Room. When did we start your Ampere Room?
2016.
2016, and been doing it since then.
Wow, that is so inspiring how you guys are able to bring in like Jake's passion and your day-to-day, Audrey, and combine it to such a wonderful organization. So in terms of Ampere Room, you would bring in outside musicians to perform for these patients, but now how has everything changed with the COVID-19 pandemic and any new hospital restrictions?
It's definitely paused a lot of the normal experiences that we've had in the past. You don't have artists touring right now, so you don't have major tours coming through town, and you know, there are certainly restrictions at the hospital for outside guests, and you know, so we can't just bring in random artists at this point. So it does take a little creativity. You know, there are definitely organizations who have been working through more technologically based experiences, you know, through Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, and you know, we've talked recently about just even having, you know, DJs set up in the welcome entrances at the hospital to, you know, to play for employees and guests as they enter who are being tested and things like, you know, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of creativity that's having to happen at the moment, and we're looking forward to hopefully a return to normalcy, whatever that means at some point.
Yeah, sure. No, it's okay. We have, you know, you kind of move into this phase, and I think you'll probably read and heard about a lot of the things that hospitals have done to limit foot traffic. And so, especially in the beginning and even now, just kind of using the people who are on the ground to sort of be as creative as possible and hold off on any outsiders coming in before we find out what that would look like. So yeah, we've had to pause a lot of that and come up with the other creative solutions.
So you talked about being creative with the ways you're trying to bring joy and these new experiences for the patients. Are there any specific precautions besides like doing Zoom stuff that you had to take when you plan activities for your patients? Maybe this is a question that can be targeted more towards Audrey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, we have to follow all the same guidelines that everyone else is being given with social distancing and mask wearing and goggles. And so all of the staff is doing that, as well as the caregivers and the patients in the hospital, and regular health checks. So we're just with the utmost of safety in mind, and that having to be paramount, it kind of comes first. And then so after we look at that, we think, well, how can we still meet normalization and socialization needs of patients while they're in the hospital? You know, the cancer population has always been focused on how to keep germs away and how to be super safe and precautious, probably as much as any other population of patients. And so in many ways, it was kind of we were following the same protocols we'd always followed. But now we just had a few extra little barriers, goggles, masks, and not being able to get kids together in the same space, which is something that we usually love to do, whether it be parties or shows, or just card games with a big group of kids. So we had to think, how can we make people feel connected when they can't actually physically be in the same space? I read about this a little bit recently, just because of some of the things that we were trying to do to be creative. When you have an oncology unit, it's just, kind of a big circle sometimes in some hospitals, and lots of families on the floor, and they may not know each other who are in the other rooms, how much they have in common. And so sometimes one of our biggest things when we're not, pre-COVID was making sure people knew each other and they could help each other in all those different ways and play with each other and support each other. And so suddenly we weren't able to do that. And so how do we continue helping families feel like they're not alone, right? I imagine SOAR even, I know y'all do care packages and things, and I suppose y'all probably even go into hospitals sometimes pre-COVID, and you probably had like a halt and all going in anywhere. I imagine they said, nope, you can't come in anymore, no more of that. So it's similar everywhere. So any group like SOAR or all the partners that we have are suddenly told, pause on this. And so we came up with creative solutions. We decided every single day we're going to do like a challenge of the day. And we're going to go around, and we're going to have as many patients as possible do this challenge. And we're going to keep a big leaderboard on the floor, and we're going to write, patients' first names. And so we'll have a category for kids and a category for teenagers. And gradually each day after we'd go in, kids started looking forward to us coming in and presenting the challenge. And then at the end of the day, running to see who got first, who got second. Oh, that Billy got first today. Or, oh, that, Susan got first today. And not even knowing who they were, having never met them, but feeling somehow connected. And so that's one of the ways we really tried to continue some form of socialization and community, even though nobody could actually be together.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that's definitely was like a huge concern of mine, just thinking about how the pandemic is affecting people, especially the children in these hospitals who probably are really lonely, and they don't have much socialization going on. And I know even right now as a teenager, with a lot more self-control, I still get really lonely not being able to see any of my friends. So that's definitely good that you guys are implementing all of these changes to try to help out those patients in the best way possible, given our circumstances. So you already kind of touched on this earlier while explaining things, but if both of you could talk about maybe any personal experiences you have with the patients you help and how you imagine COVID-19 now affecting them, either from Ampere Room side or from, Audrey, your role at Texas Children's.
And Audrey may be able to speak to that a little better. I can actually speak more to the artist side, the music, the folks that we bring in to do the performances. They always come in with the thought of, oh, I'm going to inspire or help, these patients that I play for. And universally, after every single experience, they always come to me and said, wow, I didn't think about how rewarding it was going to be for me, to experience that, and how that has just completely changed my life now. And, the effect on them, they don't think about the effect that it's going to have on them. They're only thinking about the effect on others. And so it's kind of magical to watch. They always kind of tear up a little bit. And, I've had very famous people tell me that it was the greatest gig they've ever played, walking from room to room in a hospital and playing one-on-one. Is greater than playing, at a sold out show at Madison Square Garden, so it's really, really neat to watch it from that perspective. And I've definitely been able to witness in rooms this just amazing connection between patients and artists who just share this love for music, and a lot of the patients are, musicians themselves, and sometimes they want to grab the guitar and play or sing a little bit back to the artist. So there's some really neat magical connections that are made, and those are the moments where you kind of realize, okay, this is a great a great thing, and both sides are feeling mutually benefited, I suppose.
And I think we can't, or we don't want to discount how amazing the frontline people are at what they do. But in addition to that, to providing all the soft pieces of care, you know, doctors and nurses play cards and draw art with kids, and the caregivers, the moms and dads or grandparents, whoever it is with patients too. I mean, they are very often the inspiration for some of the things we do. They know their children, and if you were stuck in the hospital with your child, you find a way. You find a way. You find a way to keep them happy, to socialize them with their cousins or their brothers and sisters who maybe can't come up right now, to see their friends. It's not dissimilar from what Jake and I do with our children right now. You know, they're not really supposed to be out. They're not going to be going to school anymore, and so you know, we're thinking through how do we continue to keep them very well-rounded socially. And so we'll tap into, you know, the same technological resources that we're using right now to make sure that friends can connect, and families in the hospital do that as well. And nurses whose job it is to administer medicine and take care of patients on the clinical side do equally an amazing job very often in being caregivers in all the softer normalization, socialization ways, and are a big part of our ability to do so much fun with kids because they want to do fun too. And so they're taking, I mean, everybody at all times is looking out for all aspects of those kids, and it's given us an opportunity to really kind of blossom with ways to meet all the needs with a fewer feet on the ground.
Yeah, that's really amazing to hear those personal experiences y'all have had with patients and artists. So I want to ask, what is it like being a couple and working together?
Well, you know, it's easy, I would say. I know, and you can be very frank about things. In many ways, I know what works and what doesn't work. And when I have an outside group who wants to come in and do X, Y, Z, I can maybe, you know, have to kind of try to delicately redirect. But with Jake, I'll say, nope, that's not going to work. This is why. Let's do this instead. I can just kind of, you know, make it happen all more efficiently. I can, you know, really think about what our needs are and be very direct and have him seek out kind of the best fit for fun through the music industry based on, you know, what I know our needs are. And also I think there's just a rhythm to knowing somebody and trusting that they're going to do something well. I think Jake, if it's like a high profile musician with lots of security concerns and other things when it comes to a visit, like pre-COVID times, I can tell him, hey, no matter what, we're going to make this great. Like, this is going to be a great visit. And I can trust that he's going to figure out the rest of it. And so you don't have to be as concerned. It's almost like working, like having that person that you've worked with for 10 years that you just know they're going to, if you ask them to do something, they're going to do it right and they're going to do it well. And you know exactly what it's, you know, what you're going to get out of it. So it just, there's an ease to it. And it really kind of optimizes our ability to use both of our skills like kind of at their heightened level, and just the whole process just runs really smoothly. So it's great, you know, that we can meet. We just know all the goals are on the table and what we're trying to do. It's easy.
Yeah, I second that. I mean, we have, Ampere Room has other hospital partnerships and other markets, but it always, I know what we're going to get when we bring an artist to Texas Children's, because Audrey may not say it, but she's one of the best at what she does, and her team in Child Life are really phenomenal. And so for me, I have on the reverse side, no worries that it's gonna that it's not gonna go well. I know it's gonna be a great situation, and everything will go as smoothly as possible. And like she said, we can be very frank with each other, and not have these, have to be so politically correct, to try to make things happen. So yeah, so it's just like you said, it's easy, and we know what we're getting into, and we know it's going to be a great experience all the way around.
So earlier you talked a little bit about how COVID has affected your kids' lives. Is there any other way that COVID has impacted your families personally? And Audrey, since you are working at the hospital, how do you protect your family from the virus?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's almost something that can be posed to, anybody who's going out, even to the grocery store, and all these precautions you can read about and the information that we're getting about how to keep it from our loved ones. And, but down to the basics of leaving your shoes and your scrubs in the garage before you come in, or hand sanitizing really well, or, taking a shower right when you finish and you get home. I trust in the guidance that we've been given by medical professionals, and that if I follow that, then I can feel confident that I'm keeping it from my loved ones. And so I'm just, we're diligent about that. Hopefully, as much as possible, as much as everyone's being diligent, even if you're going to the H-E-B or your grocery store, to Target, I feel like that's why we have these precautions in place. And that's really we're just being diligent about those things as much as possible, and just to make sure that we are in line with the best guidance that's out there.
Yeah, definitely on a personal level. I mean, I'm fortunate to work from home, so our kids are around and they're not in school, so I can assist when they have school things going on. So I guess on a personal level, our house is a lot more active all the time now. But we've adjusted and done fine, and I've been able to work through it, and it's fantastic to have more and more family time, and I think our girls have adjusted great to it, and we make it through, right? All of us together.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that's something that a lot of families can relate to right now. And hopefully everyone is all doing their part and taking all of these safety precautions. So going off of Jake, your main job is working in artist development in the music industry. So we're kind of wondering, just in generally, what your take is on how COVID is changing the music industry.
Yeah, it's challenging. Really, in our business, we're able to do everything we did before. I mean, you can still write a song. You can get on a Zoom call and write a song with another writer. You can have a producer make the track. Bring in the musicians if they need to, and put all the instruments together. You can mix and master a song. The vocal recording has been tough, because studios have been shut down. So how do you get someone's final vocals on a song? We've slowly figured that out through technology. You can ship a mic to an artist and have them record right at home. Or some studios are a little bit more private. They can go in with just one person who's wearing a mask perhaps, and that person can just record and get those vocals done and be out, and not be around a lot of people. So there have been those little challenges that we're overcoming, and we're able to still release music and promote music. So that's great. Definite impact on the live music side, though. I mean, obviously, there aren't the concerts going on, large or small, that were happening. So that's been the greatest challenge. And sadly, for a lot of small venue owners, they're either out of business or just trying to figure out how to make it. Some of them are converting from live music venues to restaurants so that they can stay open. And then maybe they have a little music in the corner type of situation. So the live music side has been hit hard, and we don't see that coming back, in full till maybe middle to late next year, perhaps, especially on the large tour side. But the rest of the industry, as far as the creative part and the marketing part go, have been able to adjust and even get extra creative. I mean, you may have seen a lot of these IG live performances that are sprouting up, and DJs, doing sets, and, artists doing little acoustic concerts from home, and, all the TV specials, people have just figured out, they're just performing more in home environments. And so we've adjusted, and we'll be fine on that end, and we're just hoping that the live music part can come back at a certain point, and start to support these venue owners, and then all the musicians and the touring support staff, all of the folks that, from rigging and lighting and, sound, and all of them who aren't able to work right now. We're hoping that they can get back to their, to what they do best when things normalize a bit too.
Okay, so this is the last question that we have for you today. So with COVID and beyond COVID, what is the future of Ampere Room?
We have lots of big ideas. That's the exciting thing about Ampere Room is our tagline is we're creating music experiences. So as of now, those experiences have been mostly one-on-one in hospital environments. We foresee, eventually moving into more like camp formats where we could have large, gatherings in and out of hospitals where you can bring in musicians and artists and songwriters and DJs to really kind of teach what they do, and so patients who are in hospitals or who have spent significant time there, they would have the access to really talented people who could teach them, how to sing or how to play or how to dance, that kind of thing. So there are some really neat opportunities that we're right on the verge of launching, and we will still launch them when it's safe to do so. But really just creating more and more music experiences to support all these folks. So there's a lot, and we're looking to build on the future.
Yeah, I think we'll just continue to be cautious about the way we proceed and eventually get on the other side of this, and continue to think of creative ways to do things in the meantime. But then the music will be back, and they'll be back in the rooms, and we'll, bring that sound and that feeling back again. So we're looking forward to that and planning for that, and just trying to be creative in the meantime.
Well, great. Thank you so much for all of your answers today. It was a pleasure having you two on. And so I'm sure that all of our viewers have learned a lot today. And just another quick reminder for the viewers, if you would like to donate, go to this link, donorbox.org/soarabove, and SOAR will be matching all of your donations to the Greater Houston COVID-19 Recovery Fund. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, and we can't wait to see you next week.